This Project B basketball league is not done yet.
The WNBA was left speechless after Saudi-backed Project B released a jaw-dropping statement directly mentioning Caitlin Clark, the billion-dollar basketball project, already shaking the sports world with its massive offers and global ambitions. Just made its boldest move yet, targeting the league's brightest star.
This Project B situation is making the damn news. Oh, baby. Now, we just heard a video before this one about Caitlin Clark potentially, allegedly, being offered upwards of 50 to 100 million, maybe even a full-blown billion.
For months, fans speculated whether Caitlin would ever join, but this announcement changed everything. Suddenly, what seemed like rumor turned into global headline news. The WNBA's leadership is panicking, players are whispering, and fans can't believe what they're hearing. What exactly did Project B say, and why now, of all times?
Project B is offering WNBA stars multi-million-dollar salaries to play in the startup league, multiple sources told me. So what threat does this mean? Global league pose and whom?
When Project B finally spoke publicly about Caitlin Clark, it wasn't a soft, diplomatic gesture. It was a direct challenge to the WNBA's authority. The Saudi-backed organization released an official statement calling Caitlin the future of global basketball, praising her ability to transcend borders and inspire audiences beyond the American system. It was more than flattery. It was a declaration of intent.
I mean, damn, dog. This whole thing is about to be over with kapoots. I ain't lying. Project B is offering multi-million-dollar salaries. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. It goes on to say, women's basketball has largely been ruled by two leagues for the past 3 decades.
Within hours, social media exploded. Fans couldn't believe a foreign billionaire-funded league had just called out the WNBA's most marketable player by name. Reporters scrambled for quotes, and league executives went silent. Behind the scenes, the tone of panic was impossible to ignore. Multiple insiders confirmed that the WNBA Players Association and several team owners held emergency meetings.
Beginning back in 1997, the WNBA had control of the summer and EuroLeague, dominating the rest of the calendar. In recent years, the landscape has become more crowded with two new USA leagues, Athletes Unlimited and obviously Unrivaled. Now, a fourth major player is joining the Fall-Winter League, and that is Project B.
The question was simple but terrifying. What if Caitlin actually listened? Project B's statement hinted at a multi-generational opportunity for women athletes to secure life-changing wealth, the kind of payday that even NBA rookies would envy. It wasn't a rumor anymore. The Saudis were serious, and they had the funding to prove it. But the real tension wasn't about money. It was about symbolism. Caitlin Clark represents more than a player. She's the face of a new era. Her rise brought millions of fans, sponsorships, and TV viewers that the WNBA had never seen before.
Project B is going to be announced in October of next year, a tournament across Asia, Europe, Latin America, beginning in November of 2026 through 2027. So that means, guys, this basketball league is going to run the entire offseason.
Project B's message was clear. If the system won't honor her, we will. That line echoed across every sports talk show, forcing commentators to confront an uncomfortable truth: the global market values her more than her own league does. As clips of the statement went viral, players began reposting, fans began debating, and suddenly, the conversation shifted.
It said on Friday, the league founder by former Facebook executive Grady Burnett and Skype co-founder Goff Prentice announced that it had signed Seattle star WBPA president Nika Agumamike as its first player. They signed the one that negotiating all of this. See, in business, you got to cross your I's and dot all your T's. You got to check all your boxes, because everything that they're not getting and they want, why do you think they signed her? See, this is bigger than just signing Nika Agumamike. This is bigger.
What once seemed unthinkable A superstar leaving America for a Saudi-backed league now felt possible. And that was the exact moment the WNBA realized Project B wasn't playing games. Something much bigger had just begun.
Y'all think Caitlyn ain't finna do this? You're wrong. I mean, you're wrong. Hell, bro, everybody's doing this. Bro, I'm sorry. Everybody's doing it. Who wouldn't want to start generational wealth for their family? This is a generational one season. You're set for life. It says Project B Investors Group includes a collection of WNBA champions.
Project B didn't appear overnight. It was years in the making, quietly built by global investors who saw an untapped opportunity in women's basketball. At its core, the league is the brainchild of a coalition that includes former Facebook executive Grady Burnett, Skype co-founder Niklas Zenstrom, and a circle of Saudi backers with unlimited resources. Their mission is clear: to create a global, year-round league that makes the WNBA look outdated and underfunded. And when they announced a $5 billion budget, the entire sports world finally paid attention. From the start, Project B positioned itself not as a rival, but as an evolution. They promised luxury travel, international exposure, and multi-million-dollar contracts, not just for stars, but for role players too. The message was simple: we value you. That statement resonated deeply with players who have spent years fighting for fair pay, proper facilities, and respect. Behind the scenes, dozens of agents have already been approached, and talks are progressing faster than anyone expected. The league's first major signing, WNBA Players Association President Nika Ogwumik, sent shockwaves across the industry. Her move validated the project's credibility overnight. If the union leader herself was willing to sign, what was stopping others? Insiders claim that Nika personally advised Project B on how to attract top-tier American talent, with Caitlin Clark at the top of that list. The Saudis listened, and the results were immediate. Project B plans to run tournaments in Asia, Europe, and Latin America, giving players exposure to new fan bases and sponsors. It's a global blueprint that the WNBA has never been able to match. Meanwhile, the timing of their public statement about Caitlin Clark feels strategic, a warning shot to remind the league who's in control of the future. And as each week passes, Project B inches closer to turning women's basketball into a worldwide phenomenon, whether the WNBA likes it or not. Inside WNBA headquarters, the mood shifted from confidence to quiet desperation. The moment Project B mentioned Caitlin Clark by name, phones started buzzing. Executives and team owners rushed into late-night calls, demanding updates and legal briefings. Publicly, the league maintained calm. Privately, there was chaos. Several sources revealed that Commissioner Kathy Engelbert called an emergency meeting with franchise owners to discuss containment strategies. The problem? There was no playbook for this. No one had ever seen a rival league with this much money, power, and precision. For years, the WNBA has operated with tight salary caps and limited international reach. Players often spend their off-seasons overseas just to make a living. Now, Project B was offering to erase those struggles overnight. Multi-million-dollar salaries, first-class travel, and complete creative freedom, the kind of treatment WNBA athletes have begged for. That's why Engelbert's biggest fear wasn't losing a few players. It was losing her entire foundation. Reports began circulating that several high-profile agents had already reached out to Project B representatives, asking about future opportunities. Among them were names connected to young stars, including rookies who had just entered the league. The WNBA's biggest nightmare, a talent drain, was slowly becoming real. Meanwhile, the league's sponsors started asking questions. How would this affect ratings? Would fans follow the stars overseas? And what about the political blowback of competing with a Saudi-funded entity? Every question exposed how unprepared the WNBA truly was. Even the Players Association was split, torn between loyalty and opportunity. The silence from Caitlin Clark's camp only made things worse. Her refusal to comment on Project B's statement sent a ripple of uncertainty through every locker room. And as rumors grew louder, one thing became undeniable. The WNBA was no longer in control of its own story. The power dynamic had shifted, and it might never shift back. From the moment Project B's statement dropped, everyone knew who the true focus was: Caitlin Clark. She isn't just another WNBA rookie. She's a generational talent, a walking economy, and the face of modern women's basketball. Every game she plays moves TV ratings, sells out arenas, and drives merchandise numbers that even the NBA has noticed. That's exactly why Project B made her their public centerpiece. By naming her directly, they weren't just complimenting her. They were placing the ultimate bid for the future of the sport. Insiders claim that Project B's interest in Clark isn't new. They've been quietly tracking her since her Iowa days, waiting for the right moment to strike. The league's representatives reportedly described her as the first true global ambassador of women's basketball. And they're willing to pay for that title, literally. Early estimates suggest Project B is prepared to offer her anywhere between $50 to $100 million, complete with global endorsements and equity stakes. That kind of money isn't just life-changing, it's legacy-defining. The WNBA, on the other hand, has been walking on eggshells. League officials fear that if Clark even entertains a conversation with Project B, it could trigger a mass exodus. Every team's marketing, ticket sales, and broadcast revenue depend on her presence. Without her, the league's momentum collapses. Yet despite the chaos, Caitlin's silence has been strategic. No public denial. No endorsement of Project B, just quiet observation, which to the WNBA is more terrifying than an outright yes. Fans are split between admiration and fear. Some believe she could change women's sports forever by going global, while others argue she's the last hope for the WNBA's survival. Either way, her next move will decide everything. Because if Caitlin Clark decides to take that call from Project B, it won't just be a contract negotiation. It'll be the moment the entire basketball world turns upside down. Project B's public statement wasn't just about Caitlin Clark. It was a chess move. Every word was calculated to expose the WNBA's weakest point: control, by speaking directly to the league's most valuable player. Project B bypassed every executive, every agent, and every marketing department. They didn't need permission. They needed attention, and they got it. Within hours, the statement dominated sports media headlines from ESPN to international outlets. But behind the headlines, there's a much deeper play unfolding. Sources close to Project B, insiders revealed that the Caitlin Clark mention was part of a larger recruitment strategy designed to shift leverage away from the WNBA's labor negotiations. With the collective bargaining agreement already under strain, this statement was meant to fracture player unity, and it worked. Some players began privately questioning why they should keep negotiating under restrictive caps when a foreign league is offering open contracts, luxury living, and creative freedom. The contrast was brutal. Even more revealing, Project B's leadership didn't deny their intentions. A leaked memo allegedly described their goal as creating the first true global women's basketball league, unbound by American constraints. To them, the WNBA's system represents everything outdated about women's sports: low pay, overregulation, and limited vision. Their plan is to offer what the WNBA never could: independence. And Caitlin Clark's name was the bait that got the world to listen. Meanwhile, League Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has reportedly been reaching out to corporate sponsors and television partners, trying to reassure them that the WNBA is unshaken. But everyone can see the cracks forming. ESPN talk shows are debating whether the Saudis are trying to buy women's basketball. Analysts are calling this the live golf moment for the WNBA. And through all the noise, Project B remains calm, almost smug, because they know their move worked. They didn't need to sign Caitlin Clark to win the battle. They only needed to make the WNBA panic. As the pressure from Project B intensified, the WNBA tried to fight back, but every move only exposed how unprepared they were. Within days of the Saudi-backed league's statement, the WNBA's communications team released a brief message emphasizing commitment to player welfare and league growth. It sounded polished, but behind closed doors, panic spread. Reports surfaced that the league had reached out to sponsors, urging them to stay loyal. Some networks even began revisiting broadcast contracts, worried that top talent could walk away before next season. The storm was growing, and the league was out of umbrellas. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has been trying to keep players calm, but even her tone has shifted from confidence to crisis management. Insiders claim she held a private meeting with several star players, including A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart, asking for public unity to protect the league's future. But unity is hard to sell when players see billion-dollar opportunities overseas. Some agents have quietly advised their clients to keep all doors open, signaling that loyalty may soon be a luxury the WNBA can't afford. Meanwhile, the fans are divided. Some defend the WNBA as the rightful home of women's basketball, while others are openly questioning whether the league has done enough to support its athletes. The Project B statement didn't just rattle executives, it exposed years of frustration and neglect. Even commentators who once dismissed the idea of a global rival are now asking tough questions. Why should the world's best players settle for less? To make matters worse, a leaked memo allegedly revealed that WNBA officials discussed potential legal strategies to discourage players from engaging with Project B recruiters. That leak hit the internet like wildfire. The optics were terrible. Suddenly, the WNBA looked less like a league protecting its players and more like an institution trying to cage them. And once freedom becomes part of the conversation, control is already slipping away. As the pressure from Project B intensified, the WNBA tried to fight back, but every move only exposed how unprepared they were. Within days of the Saudi-backed league's statement, the WNBA's communications team released a brief message emphasizing commitment to player welfare and league growth. It sounded polished, but behind closed doors, panic spread. Reports surfaced that the league had reached out to sponsors, urging them to stay loyal. Some networks even began revisiting broadcast contracts, worried that top talent could walk away before next season. The storm was growing, and the league was out of umbrellas. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has been trying to keep players calm, but even her tone has shifted from confidence to crisis management. Insiders claim she held a private meeting with several star players, including Aja Wilson and Breanna Stewart, asking for public unity to protect the league's future. But unity is hard to sell when players see billion-dollar opportunities overseas. Some agents have quietly advised their clients to keep all doors open, signaling that loyalty may soon be a luxury the WNBA can't afford. Meanwhile, the fans are divided. Some defend the WNBA as the rightful home of women's basketball, while others are openly questioning whether the league has done enough to support its athletes. The Project B statement didn't just rattle executives, it exposed years of frustration and neglect. Even commentators who once dismissed the idea of a global rival are now asking tough questions. Why should the world's best players settle for less? To make matters worse, a leaked memo allegedly revealed that WNBA officials discussed potential legal strategies to discourage players from engaging with Project B recruiters. That leak hit the internet like wildfire. The optics were terrible. Suddenly, the WNBA looked less like a league protecting its players and more like an institution trying to cage them. And once freedom becomes part of the conversation, control is already slipping away. By the time the dust settled from Project B's explosive statement, one truth became impossible to ignore. The balance of power in women's basketball had shifted forever. For decades, the WNBA dictated the rules, the salaries, and the storylines. But now, a new contender with global influence and limitless funding had entered the scene. Project B's arrival wasn't just a financial disruption, it was a cultural one. It challenged everything the WNBA stood for, from pay scales to power dynamics, and forced everyone to ask the question no one wanted to say out loud: what if the future isn't American? Players are beginning to think globally, not locally. For the first time, they see a path where they don't need to play year-round overseas just to make ends meet. A path where they're treated as superstars, not side stories. That's the vision Project B is selling, and it's working. Even younger athletes still in college are reportedly watching closely, calculating what this new system could mean for their careers. The promise of wealth, freedom, and respect is hard to ignore when you've spent years fighting for scraps. Meanwhile, fans are torn between loyalty and curiosity. Some see Project B as a betrayal of the WNBA's hard-earned progress, while others view it as the necessary push to finally make women's basketball global. And as international investors, influencers, and media outlets rally around this new venture. One thing is certain, the WNBA can't stop the conversation anymore. The movement has already begun. Project B's founders are calling it the golden era of women's basketball. but critics are calling it a hostile takeover. Either way, the game has changed. The players are no longer waiting for equality, they're building it themselves. And as the world watches Caitlin Clark's next move, one thing is crystal clear. This isn't the end of women's basketball. It's the beginning of its revolution. Project B's bold statement about Caitlin Clark didn't just shake the WNBA, it redrew the map of women's basketball. What began as a simple announcement has become a global power struggle over money, control, and freedom. The Saudis aren't just creating a league, they're creating leverage. And now, every player, coach, and fan is watching one question unfold. Will Caitlin Clark stay loyal to the WNBA or step into a billion-dollar revolution? Whatever she chooses, the game will never be the same again. The era of quiet compromise is over. The basketball war has begun.